put away your cell phone. I really appreciate it. Now, I'm going to ask you a question and see if you answer A or B. Which one would you rather be? An ordinary middle-class American living today, or the richest person in America at the time of George Washington? How many of you say A? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of you say B? Okay, Evan, why? Why B?
Because I'm the richest man in the world.
Okay, you could give out iPhone, iPad, PC, all that, right?
Yeah.
You could ride the horse, buggies, and you're happy with that.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about any of this.
That's right. You wouldn't know any of that. But you're the richest person in the world. Well, in America, yeah. Okay, good answer. Did anybody else say that? Okay. Yes, what about Miss Kai?
Same thing. If I'm the richest person,
Same
I can
thing?
leave a legacy behind for people after me. So I'd rather be the richest person in America.
Okay, interesting. Let's look at some of the answers here. In the late 18th and 19th century, life expectancy was 40 years old. You have to live with 40 years old. But again, if you say you didn't know then, you want to weigh all this thing. And 40 years old is probably pretty good back then. Yeah. And 2 or 3 children died. Scarlet fever, some of you heard about it. Epidemics, food and things like that. Nothing moved faster than the speed of a horse. Wow. Think about that. The best highway was from Boston to New York, and that's 175 miles. That trip would take 3 days. Today, 175 miles would get you to Charlotte. How long did it, does anybody drive to Charlotte?
2 hours.
You speeding. 2.5, okay, that's a little bit. Did I hear 2 hours? Come on, you guys are speeding.
That's
No?
it takes more like 3 hours.
Really?
No, it takes 2.
For me, it's about 3 hours. No matter how fast you drive, because all the traffic, you might be taking all the back roads. What's that, an hour and a half? Okay, so big difference there. What else? We got technology. Today we got all this iPhone, and so ask yourself, we got washer and dryers, and instead of washing everything by hand by the river and hang it up, that would be forever. Different, I think once you live this life in the current century, I doubt anybody want to go back. Would you want to go back, Evan? Now that you live this life? Okay. I bet you can part with your iPhone and stuff like that. That would be the hardest thing probably for most of you. Products must be commercialized and so. Okay, let's get to the bottom. Okay, let's look at this. This is the GDP per capita. I'm going to write down something for you. Please take it. You will hear this term GDP per capita, and this could be your keyword that you could search for your article summary. The word capita without L means per person. So basically what it is now is you take the GDP divided by the whole population. Now you can see that small countries like Singapore, Kuwait, all these Gulf nations, their population is very small. Because it's a very small country, so therefore your GDP per capita is one of the highest in the world, even higher than the US. So anyway, if you look at this, right, we look at 5 industrialized countries over a period of time, 1870 to 2003. Tell me what you see that stands out. Anybody?
Japan spiked.
Yes, Nick?
Japan spiked at 1950.
Okay, but
Everybody went up.
everybody, yes, around that same time, you see a kink, K-I-N-K. You see a kink in the globe, and that's right after the Second World War. Right. So Second World War is considered one of the golden period, in American economic history, because that's the time that we built a lot of tanks and national defense went up because there was a war going on in Europe and around the world, basically. And then remember we talked about how women started to join the factory and they started to earn wages. So labor force participation rate for women gone up, skyrocketing. So basically, that was a very, and every time you spend, remember our GDP, right, equals to C plus I plus G plus NX. So every time you spend, your consumption goes up. So hey, that boosts your GDP. So if you have taken history class, you may have learned about that already. See, that's the kind of thing that I expect in the past, my students to do graph like that. You know, for the projects I give them, they'll pick 5 countries and then they have to compare across. Okay, right, so Japan was a little bit slow and then it caught up very fast. That was the point there. So historical estimate, let's see if I'm missing anything else, looking at that one. Historical estimates are less precise. Comparing economic output over a century cannot account for new goods and services. So that was to answer the questions that some of you have. You know, you chose choice B instead of choice A. The variety and the quality. Now, quality is good. That's probably the main thing. The cell phone service you had 3 years ago compared with what you got today. During the time of George Washington, you did not have a washing machine, and now you do. You had Model T back then. Well, Model T was more later time. But today you got your sports car. You could drive it 110. Is that 110? What's the speed limit? 110. I was thinking about kilometers. I'm sorry. Thinking about another country when I drove it. 110 kilometers. Yeah. But so in this country, the what is it? Speed limit is 85?
Between 60 and
70. I've said 75 before. Right? Okay.
Something like that.
So anyway, I'm not trying to say I speed, but I'm thinking in terms of 110 kilometers per hour a while ago, yeah. Okay. The variety, quality, quantity of goods, services increase in our see, okay, all there, because of the GDP. So let's look at this column very quickly. I want you to pay attention to a few things, and then I'm going to ask you a number of questions. So we got a list of countries here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 countries. And then we give you the period of time. It jumps every several years. Okay? And the first set of economic growth data that we want to look at is 1870 to 2003, so all like that. So if you look at overall, okay, this is a growth rate. And when you look at it, you say, well, that's really not that big, you know. Look at that, 1.2, 2.3. But then if you take a section of it and start looking at it from 1950 onward, look at that. Almost every single one of the growth rate is higher. In fact, if you look at 2 countries particularly, I would like for you to identify those 2 countries. They're doing exceedingly well. Which are the 2 countries?
United States and Canada.
No.
Australia and
Japan.
Germany.
No.
Japan.
Japan, 4.9, and who else?
Italy.
Did we not have China here?
No.
Oh, what happened to
China.
China? Do we have India?
No.
Italy.
It's Japan and Germany.
Okay, Japan and Germany. I hope this is the correct one. I used to remember I have,
What's the difference?
let me see if there's one more.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Now, if you look at the one you have in your book, which is, I think is more current, let's look at the one you have in your book. Page, because I think that was a wrong slide. Yeah, this was a little bit better. Yeah. Let's look at table 7.1. You got your book?
Better.
Okay, so that's what I meant to show. For some reason, this is an old one. So you will see that you got India and China. And India and China being emerging economies, they're actually doing better. I think it must be in the other PowerPoint slide, yeah. The other set, I got too many. So I'm pretty sure I updated it. So the point here is, you can see that for some countries, you know, they caught up very quickly. Like for example, Japan is one good example. And then India and China, if you refer to your book, this table down there. So then the point I wanted to make here is, well, actually I don't have time to make point.